Planning Committee meeting, October 18th, 2017, at 11 o'clock. We will call this meeting to order. The invocation will be by Mr. Bo Ives, Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Lance Thompson.
You bow your heads, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for all your gifts. Please bless those who are in attendance, and please bless those in our hearts that need special care and diligence from you. We ask that you help us in our deliberations today, that everything that we discuss and everything that we determine will be pleasant in your eyes and your sight. And this we pray in your name. Amen.
Amen.
You stand. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Okay, we need an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
I'd like to make an amendment, if I could, please.
Okay.
With Fred Richardson in attendance today, if we could move his presentation up to first on our agenda in recognition of his time.
Okay, does any discussion about that or any problems? Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I
Okay.
second.
Thanks. Everyone in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're going to move that to the front of the agenda. Thank you very much.
Right.
Now can we get an approval of the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Everyone in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
nays? The agenda has been approved. Okay. Mr. Knight, do you have anything to say about this project?
No, when we brought it in front of council, we had recommendation to transfer the property to Grand Stream Water and Sewer at a certain amount. And I think there were questions about the well and how it was worked, and it's on our property. And I think we asked Fred to come and explain the process of the business and what really the property will be used for. So that's what Fred's here for, to make a presentation and answer questions.
Okay. Mr. Richardson? Thank you for coming today. We appreciate that.
Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Years ago, in the late 80s, all the public drinking water in Horry County was well water. And what was happening is the population grew, the water, and it's not the normal water table, it's water down in the Black Creek aquifer, several hundred feet deep. That water was being depleted. So first, Myrtle Beach converted from well water to treated surface water. They have a plant, or we now have bought that plant, and it's there at 21st Avenue in Myrtle Beach. And we built a water plant in Bull Creek, and we distribute the water from Bull Creek all over the county. You get it out here in Highway 90, we get it in Aner, Loris, everywhere except the beach side of Myrtle Beach and North Myrtle Beach. Garden City and Surfside gets water from Bull Creek. Now, your business is seasonal, but it may or may not be quite as seasonal as our business. Of the two water plants, they're 45 million gallons a day each. And right now in the summertime, we're pumping about 65 to 70 million gallons a day. But as we speak here today, that number is probably less than half of that. So we developed technology from the existing wells that we've had and new wells, that what we can do is take that water during the off season, because like I said, we're up here at 65 or 70, and down here when the off season we're at 30, and we can increase the water supply to some mid-range and take it out into the community and store it in wells. And it doesn't mix with the existing groundwater.
It doesn't.
It does not. What it does is form a bubble, and it pushes the groundwater out. Now, you have some mixing at the interface, so when you put the water in, we're always going to lose about 10% because we keep pushing further out but you do have some commingling at the interface. But inside that bubble is pure water, just like we pump it from the river. So what that does is save us from adding both additional capacity at the plants, but even more so, additional capacity in those pipelines from the plant to where we need the water. So in the summertime, we can just turn those ASR wells on and pump the water back out. So it looks just like your wells look at ocean lakes or something, you know, very similar. It's not, it's a pump with a large motor on it, but they're fairly quiet, and we build the well houses to be quite attractive. So like I say, in the wintertime, from probably mid-September through the end of March, we're injecting water into those wells. And then when we hit the springtime, hit the peak tourist season, we're pulling those water out of the well. Like I say, our summer flows are probably more than twice our winter flows. But even in the summertime, we can have peak weekend flows that are like 25 and 30% higher than our summer flows. And that's contributed to a lot of, well, two main factors. One is the level of tourism. You know, the 4th of July is a big weekend, and it's very weather dependent. There's a lot of irrigation meters out there. So in the winter, people are not irrigating their grass as much. But in the summer, they are. So if we're in a mini drought or anything like that, around that 4th of July weekend, we're using maybe, I don't know, 150% more water than we're using like here in October. So that's the reason that we have the program. We've been very successful with it. We have about 15 million gallons a day now that's in the ground, and we continue to expand that as we continue to grow.
Fred, what, that bubble, what's the size of that, and what's the capacity inside that bubble?
It's several hundred feet in a radius. If you look at the aquifers, there's different strata in the aquifers. Some will be non-water producing, and then you'll have some areas that are water producing, and that's where you have your screens.
And those can be seasonal as well.
Well, the water in there is fairly stable. When we
Good.
put water in, yes, sir, groundwater moves very, very slowly. It's in the inches or feet per year, and it's not like a river flowing at several feet per second. I mean, that water and groundwater moves extremely, extremely slow. That's one of the reasons you don't want to contaminate groundwater, because if something hit in the river in a day or two, it's going to be flushed out into the ocean. But if it's in the groundwater, it's going to stay there, stay there, stay there, stay there for a long time. So what we do is we put that water in, it pushes the water out, and allows us to pull that out during the peak season. And this program has probably saved us millions and millions of dollars of plant capacity and pipeline capacity, which equates to savings for our customers.
How many of these wells do you have?
I think we have about 15.
And you're
Fred.
losing one because of the International Drive? Do you have an existing well that's been in need of relocation?
No, sir.
They just want to expand it into one of the wells.
Right. We're going to drill a new well at this location on International Drive, which will add water to this Highway 90 area here.
Fred, how long have you been using that process?
15 years. I mean, it's not, it's technology that we have developed and built on. I think we're probably the largest utility using this other than some in the Las Vegas area. They use it there. But other than that, we're far beyond anybody in South Carolina or the Southeast in this technology. Like I say, what it is, we're not storing it up in the air. We're putting millions of gallons a day into the ground so we can pull that out when we need it in those peak days in the summer.
There were 4 things that a lot of the board members were interested in, and I'll address the first one since you did that. I think we were under the impression that you were going to be losing the well on International Drive, and that this would be actually replacing it, and that there would be some differences in between what you were doing and what you had.
That's not my understanding.
Okay.
I don't know,
What happened, they've got a pump, they've got a kind of a pump station there.
Oh, I understand,
now.
I understand what you're saying. What we have now is not this well. We have a booster pump station at this site.
Okay.
Because we're getting water from the power line, going north and bringing it back this way. To increase the pressure, we have a booster pump station at that site now. So what we'll be doing is putting this well where that booster pump station, is on the same site as that booster pump station.
Okay. The other thing is, I think was not the acre and something that you wanted, was it right on International Drive? And I guess the question was, could we not do it somewhere besides that, because you're actually losing road frontage just for the well, and that would be road frontage that we have there?
Well, I would think so. I think we proposed this, and we have an entrance from International Drive, and we have an easement entrance from 3R Drive. Now, I haven't discussed with anybody because no one brought that back up, but yes, I mean, if we can get into the site, if we needed to move that back, that wouldn't be an overwhelming issue. Now, excuse me, the further we move it back, the more piping we have to do
Right.
to get the water in and get the water back out. But other than that, it's just, that's the most convenient spot, the less costly site for us.
Okay. The other thing that was discussed is liability. You're going to be using groundwaters. We are a landfill. We do have leachate spills from time to time. We have different runoffs and things like that. So every board member, I think, was interested in the liability in case something happened to work that way.
I'll check with our attorney, but I'm sure we can put a liability clause in the sales agreement.
What's the practicality of the leachate and our footprint from the
I would say zero.
distance? Okay, that's the assurance that we wanted.
That zero. Your leachate is going into the shallow groundwater.
Yes.
This is water in the deep Black Creek aquifer.
Hearing that,
Now, it's shallow groundwater someplace, maybe up above Florence, but as I say, then it goes into the ground, and we're not getting any water here that's less than probably 400 feet deep. So your leachate would not be going down into the groundwater that where this water is being stored.
we didn't want to sell land to you without the understanding that
Yeah,
what our use is.
I would think that could be handled in the sales agreement.
Okay. The other thing is, a lot of the board members thought an acre of land in that particular location would be worth quite a bit more than $5,300.
Well, I'm sure we do business similar to way other people do business. We start with a number and let someone count, and we probably did some sort of appraisal, and we do in-house appraisals, and
Right.
sometimes we hire people to appraise it, but
Right.
I don't think we would have an issue of getting the property appraised if that was something that you
Okay.
wanted to do.
I think it probably would, and just to say.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
Okay. I do think there's a big difference in that, and I have land out in the sticks on a dirt road, farmland, that I wouldn't sell anywhere close to that. So that was a big concern in what we were talking about at the board. So those are my 4 points. If there are any other board members that have any other ones, let's go ahead and let him hear that now so that he can make arrangements to discuss that with his board.
There was one additional concern, and that is if there was a buffer needed to be around the property to protect the well from contamination. And you're saying since you're injecting it so far down, it really isn't an issue.
No.
That was one of the things. We would
No,
understand better.
Contamination would be
Yeah.
no issue.
Understanding better your process
Right.
goes a long way to,
The contamination is not an issue. It seems to me like, I want to make sure I understand, there's two issues. One, we would want a hold harmless in your favor for anything that we do on the site. I mean, you've sold it to us, and we'd be accepting whatever risk we take. And the second issue is we need to get the property officially appraised.
And we would be interested in it not being road frontage, if there's any way we can work that out to where it's not road frontage right there. Because cutting out an acre of road frontage on that kind of property would not be something business people would normally do, I don't think.
All right?
appraisal might direct it that way.
It might. Is there anything else you would like to ask us so that we could maybe,
No, we're in the position of asking, we're not, so we're coming hat in hand.
yeah?
So, we appreciate you working with us.
Okay.
But I'll check on those, issues, moving it back, putting the hold harmless in the agreement and getting it appraised.
Okay. We appreciate that very much. Mr.
Yeah, and I'm assuming there's not any time limitations on that storage of that water. Once it goes down, it would be pure, safe water there as long as you need it there. If you didn't,
Yeah, that's correct. But typically, the way we work it is, and we lose a little bit of water doing this, but that's okay because of the big savings. We put it in during the all-season, and then we pump some out during the peak season. So we actually don't, although it could be, we don't leave water in there indefinitely. Typically, we're putting it in the winter, and we're taking it out in the summer. So, let's say if we put in 100 gallons in the winter, we'll probably take out 90 gallons in the summer. And we keep doing that, so we keep pushing the buffer out a little bit.
That maintains the bubble.
It maintains the bubble, so yes. So we never pull it all back out.
right. And does it come out the same way it goes in?
Well, we put it in through the natural pressure, it's not natural pressure, but it's the pressure of the water system. But then we have to take it back out, we have to have a well pump, just similar
Right.
as you do, to have the pressure to bring it back out. Yeah.
I just want to thank you personally for coming.
Oh, I'm happy to be.
Explain this, and I'm just happy to learn something so fascinating that you're doing. I just think it's tremendous that you're explored this as an option for us.
Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
And we appreciate all the work y'all do.
We do appreciate that. The other question is this: if for some reason this didn't work out, is there another area in there that you could actually buy land to do what you want to do?
I would think, yes. I mean,
Okay.
it's,
Okay, several board members had asked me that, so
Right.
I just wanted to make sure that's not there.
Good luck with that rich grass.
Right. You talking about Riverstone Properties? Yeah, we dealt with it. We'd rather deal with you than Riverstone. We need it, adjacent to the water system.
Okay,
Highway 90 water system, this was done a long, long time ago. This was actually Conway service area out here at one time. We renegotiated that, and we got it back. And this was, been at Grand Strand a long time now, but we envisioned having wells. So the line on Highway 90 is an 8-inch line.
right,
So we can't take water from here all the way to Little River through that 8-inch line. So that's one of the things that this does is if we get wells along Highway 90, adjacent to Highway 90, when we need the pressure in the summertime, we can pull it right out of these ASR wells.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Let me ask one more question.
Yeah.
So when you take that out, does it create a void, or, I mean, has there ever been any impact to the surrounding areas? I'm not smart enough to figure out how that works, but when the water comes out, is that just, what fills that
What
void
displacement?
without the, yeah, I
Are
mean,
you
I don't.
talking about sinkholes?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. We pull the water out, but then, the water, as we pull it out, moves back in. Now, I know groundwater moves at a slow rate, but we've never had any well, you wouldn't have a sinkhole because it's 400 feet deep, and there's hard strata up above that. But yeah, there'll probably be less water in that area, once we move it out. But that's never been an issue.
But you inject it before you use it, so you're basically
Yes,
using the water you've injected.
that's right. We're using the water we injected. We're not using the groundwater that was there before. So,
I was wondering, when you pull that out, how does the bubble stay that large, or how does it keep expanding if you?
Pressure.
yeah, well, obviously, if you're pulling the water out, you would have less water within that bubble during that period of time, during the time that we pulled it out. But it's 2 or 3 months, and it's sandy material, so instead of being, wet sand, it may be a little less wet during that period of time.
Okay, good.
As he
Thank you.
explained, it's the opposite of a water tower, it's just using the ground.
Yeah. yeah,
Flip
just
it
pulling out.
upside down.
Yeah. Really fascinating. Yeah.
And you feel like if this site doesn't work out, there are areas closer by that you can use if you had to. Is that what your thoughts are right now?
Well, I hadn't
Right.
been asked that question. The group that I was associated with thought we could work out the deal with y'all. If we don't think we can, I'll start looking some other places. If we think we can work this out, I'm not gonna start looking at other places. So that's kind of, where we are with it.
Well, we thank you very much.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll get this information together and be back in touch.
Good.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
All right.
Have a good day.
Okay, Solid Waste Authority Property Usage Policy Discussion. Anyone have any thoughts on that? I think they have brought before us several pieces of property that we might be interested in selling with appraisals and how they were done through the county. I think a lot of board members have talked about having separate or private appraisals. I think we also need to discuss selling the property. As it's been brought to my attention, there's a lot of developing going on and land prices are going up. If we have a need for this money and we have somewhere to allocate it, that would be advantageous, but if not, that land may be worth more money, and people thought we needed private appraisals. So whatever your thoughts are.
Let me say I think this appraisal process started on the 701 site, and there's a private appraisal ongoing on that property as we speak.
Okay.
So, that one will be solved. When we get that one done, we'll compare it to the offer and we'll know which way to go.
Okay. Just as an example, what we were just talking about here today, we are a public entity. Grand Strand Water and Sewer is a utility that services the public. And as you look at those things, he can get an appraisal on a piece of property at an acre of land. How his appraiser would look on that acre of land, as you can look at it as you are appraising an acre of land to put a house on, that appraisal would be very different than an appraisal if they had it in mind that you would be selling it to a business that was going to do what he's going to do and sell it and make money. So when you have an appraisal on a piece of property, I think you need to direct that appraising person or organization toward a developmental idea toward that property, not just 1 acre here for a house or 10 acres here for a farm or whatever. I think we need to have an idea of what will be,
The potential.
the potential and the use of that property when you ask for an appraisal, because I think there'll be a vast difference. As you know, we're looking at storage, we're looking at new equipment, we're looking at different kinds of things to be done here at this landfill. We have obligations that have $80-some million in 30 years. So all of the property that we have, to me, what that means is we have the potential of the money coming from that property should be allocated for what it is to be used for. And we're going to have a lot of money and millions and tens of millions of dollars that need to be paid. So I believe that the Solid Waste Authority needs to get the highest and best use appraisal for the property we decide to sell.
If I might, the Finance Committee just met, and among our major concern is reserves, and land is another way of reserving our assets. We may want to keep that land as long as possible if we're to believe that its value will increase greater than the potential of our investments. So just because we have an offer for land shouldn't be something that we should take lightly. Perhaps it's better to keep it in our treasury because land is increasing in value currently. And one value that this committee might have is to strategically look at all of our property and see which properties are close to our mission and which ones are not, so that we might make the decision on which properties might be best strategically to put on the market or to save for future as another potential reserve. Thank you.
I agree. That was a succinct way of saying what I said. I agree with you wholeheartedly. So do you have any thoughts,
Well,
Mr. Thompson?
I do have a better feeling about working with an authority that's working to provide a service and keep rates low versus selling to a private company that might be charging people to ride dirt bikes or horses or however they're going to develop it as a private enterprise versus a situation like this, especially adjacent to an existing usage already, that I'm not in favor of trying to sell property at this point to a private organization that is looking just to turn around to build houses or to turn a profit, because I do think that is an asset that we have and a resource that ought to be protected.
And as we see, the 0.9 or 1.5% on our money is not the same as having a piece of land that goes up in value the way this area is being
Absolutely.
developed, in
Yep.
my opinion. Mr. Campbell?
Yes, particularly if we don't need the money right now. If there's some reason that we need the money, we should take a look at it. But if we, with the increase that we have just put forth, I don't know necessarily that we need any cash money right now, do we? Am I the finance director?
But you keep talking about storage, and that's $200,000 or $300,000 at the MRF.
Okay.
In my opinion is, if we sell property on the MRF over here, that money should go to the MRF. If we sell the property on 701 North, which was the old MRF that burned, then I think the money should be earmarked for any expansion at the MRF.
That's again
Yeah.
strategic.
And when we take this downtown for approval, once we decide, then I think that's the story, that it's to expand the MRF and the operations and the storage situation, new technology. But yeah, I think there is a need for cash. And I think the board in the past has stood on exactly what y'all talking about today. We had a board member that was pushing selling a piece of property off Ron McNair that we'd bought years ago for the transfer station. And it was within an inch of being a transfer station. It had been bid. It had been bid for an operator to operate it, and it went down the tubes. The property's there. A developer came, wanted to buy part of it for storage. And the board says, property values are down. We're not gonna sell anything in this, the way property values are today. So I think the board has been very, eye-opening on what to do with the property. And, you know, when someone comes to us, wants to make a proposal, then we feel she'll just bring it to you and see what you think at the time. And yeah, these appraisals are different. Depends on who's asking for one, who's not. But this piece of property that they already own over here is, I don't think anyone else could build anything on it. I don't think you might be able to put a well house on it, but you ain't gonna put no, CVS on it. It's not big enough, and it's not a great piece of property.
Well, I definitely think that we need to expand the MRF, and improve on it, of course, and we've been talking about that. And as you said, it's connected with the MRF, and we should use the money. And, we need to move on that if we can. We need to go to work on this MRF as quick as we can. Do we not, Mr. Besser?
Yeah, there's some things that could be done out there to change it. I mean, we've always talked about trying to expand it to the point that we could take mixed waste from the hotels and stuff. We definitely don't have that money. That first estimate we run into is about $10 million.
Is that what we're gonna get for that property?
Test the soil first.
Yeah, test the soil first before we do that. Have we still never gotten any word back from the people that have the land behind that?
No, ma'am.
To buy?
No, ma'am, and I'm pushing that just about as hard as we can push, and that's Riverstone.
Yeah.
And, we're also looking at another, way of looking, expanding the existing storage building on site. And my position to the Virginia crowd was if we have to build on our property, then later on down the road, when we start dealing with the road back to the backside of their property, it might take me as long to get that done as to get an answer on the possibilities of buying 5, 8, 10 acres behind the site, but,
I agree with you there, Mr. Knight.
Well, you know, we, in my opinion, need to expand the MRF and the storage and be able to handle what Mr. Besant said now. If we can't get an answer from them and we still intend to do this, and I believe we do, where else on our property would we do this?
we've got sites, but it wouldn't be as great a location for us for handling material, because it would be, where we do the TVs. There's a
Okay.
shed there, we just, tag on the end of that shed and expand out, further down the line and close it where the other one's open